let me tell you guys a story. You guys want a story? Let me tell you guys a story. So the year is like 1978, right? There is a kid. He's a regular kid. Your run of the mill like kid that would be like the main character in one of these types of stories. Right? This is a kid, probably about 15 to 16, right? And he finds this one of these days, right? He's just going home from school and everything, right? Lag, I'm gonna kill something, but you know what? That's okay. You guys can still hear me, right? You can still hear me through the lag? Right? You can still hear me through the lag? And that's all that matters, right? Right? And... Alright. Are we good? I think we're good. Hopefully. I do not know. Because my internet is not working. Okay, I'll just continue the story. So basically, you're right. Kid in the 1970s. On his way home from school one day, he finds a box. Now, this box was interesting. It had some symbols on it. I mean, it's just like you would think it's like an ornate kind of thing that like is used to hold like these like random stones, that you would like find in like your grandmother's house or something. You would open it up and you'd find like stones or rocks or whatever. This one had like a nice little lock on it. And he was kind of confused about it. But I mean, if you find a locked box, right, you're gonna take it and you're gonna try to find out what's inside and everything, right? But the thing is, right, he didn't really have any methods of unlocking the box, right? His parents didn't let him go towards the tool chest or anything, so opening it up by brute force is, well, just not going to work. And obviously, there's no way that he can find the key because, well, it's just a random box now. The interesting thing is that he would just keep it right next to him on his little bedstand while he was going to sleep every single night. And, well, little by little, he started to notice just different things. He would wake up, the box would be a little bit, rotated sometimes, but he would just think, oh, I just probably put it like that before I fell asleep. Pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. So, basically, right, he has this little lockbox, doesn't think much of it. Then, one night, he goes to sleep, and then wakes up. Except, can't really move all too much. Now, he had known about sleep paralysis and everything, and he was aware of it, so he was just like, kind of like, oh, okay. This is just one of those things where it kind of happens. So, he didn't really think much of it. Then he looked to his left, looked to his right, his eyes could still move and everything, and seemed to be okay. Didn't really think much of it. Then he woke up, the box was still there. So, this continued to happen, though, more and more frequently. He would wake up, so to say, but not be able to move every single time. And he didn't think much of it, because he had experienced sleep paralysis before in the past. Now, one night, it was a little too hot, It was a little too hot in his room, so he decided to sleep without his covers, as you do. And that day, when he woke up and was in the state of sleep paralysis again, he always thought that it was because it was sleep paralysis was the reason why he was not able to move. But the real reason why he was not able to move is because there was an open box on his chest and chains around his wrists and legs. He was stuck there. Now, obviously, when you're chained down to a bed with an open box in front of you, you scream.
Hey, look at that high-waisted man. He got feminine
But
hips.
when he screamed, all that really came out was just a nice little music box melody. And he noticed the little ballerina in the box slowly spinning. Except it was no ballerina. It was him. the box was meant for him. Now, this story is about a girl. She is their average run-of-the-mill kind of child, you know. Doesn't really have too many friends, but hey, it's the 80s, you know. Not really too much happens. She kind of just, you know, had her schoolwork and everything. She got her schoolwork done. She was a very nice student. Except one day when she was walking home from school, she found a box. A nice little lock on it. And some weird symbols. Alright, what do you think about that one, chat? Tell another one? Oh, boy. Okay. Let me think. Okay, so this one takes place in like a 16th, 15th, 14th, I don't know which century, but whenever the medieval period is, that's when it takes place. Basically, this is the story of just a knight, right? You know, he is a very noble, very, you know, kind of to the point where he's almost full of himself, you know, but it's like he's like that kind of person where he's kind of aware of how good he is, and he's honestly kind of a jerk. Now, every single day, right, he passes this like weird like old lady on his like way to work, right? But it's like it kind of reminds you of like the witch that gave Snow White the apple. Basically every single day he kind of walked past her on his way to work. And he didn't really think much of it, and she would always say some like random thing to him, you know, kind of like, well, like usually she'd either be begging for money or just like saying like weird and vague threats against him. So he didn't really think much of her until one day she was just kind of gone. So he was kind of confused about that, and he was just like, oh, she probably either found somewhere else to sit or just kind of maybe passed away or something. I mean, it was the medieval period. People didn't really live that long. So it was a wonder why she looked so old in the first place, because really not that many people really lived that long anyway. So he didn't really think much of it. Now weeks passed and everything, and he's doing well, all right? This knight is doing well. I mean, he's protecting the king, you know, the queen, and of course the princess and all that. Until right, one of these days the princess goes missing, and no one knows why. All right, you would think that there would be a reason why the princess would, like, you would think that there would be any evidence of why the princess has gone missing. So people were referring to it as the perfect kidnapping in this sense, where basically she's just gone, and no one really knows the reason why. Now, of course, the knight, being his full of himself, self-centered, noble person, always trying to do the right thing, he of course made it his main goal to try to find the princess, because, you know, random disappearances, especially in the medieval times with absolutely no evidence, just doesn't happen. I mean, there was no sign of like any struggle or anything, you know, everything was still like fine on like her desk, you know, all of her like jewelry was still okay, which was odd. Now, he made it his goal to try to figure it out, but the thing is, weeks went by, months went by, and he still had no evidence of what happened to the princess. He still had no clue. Now, of course, there have been rumors about that old lady that was sitting on the side of the road, that she possessed some kind of magical ability. So, of course, when you try to work towards one thing for months and have no results, you try to find different means. So he tried to find her. He looked around, and eventually he did. As it turns out, she lived in a nice old shack just right outside where the castle was. So he went to her, and of course he just talked with her and tried to ask her, like, do you know what happened to the princess? Do you know what could have happened to the princess and everything? And to his surprise, she said yes. She actually knew exactly what happened to the princess. Now, it seemed kind of almost foreboding, as almost if she had done it. So, of course, the knight got offensive with it. He drew his sword, and he started to threaten the old lady because he thought that she had something to do with it. Now, the old lady, in the face of almost certain death, didn't really seem to be that scared at all, actually. In fact, she seemed almost happy to be facing the sharp end of a sword, which was unsettling for the knight. He didn't understand why she was so excited to be threatened in this way. Now, when asked why she was so smug, she simply said, "You know you can't kill me, because I have what you need." And the knight had only really one thing in mind. I mean, obviously, she has the princess. She was the one that stole the princess in the first place, right? So this must be what it is. Now, in the old lady's shack, there was a section that was kind of off limits with a curtain. Now, obviously, if you were to hide a person from the law and everything, it would be behind that little curtain and everything. So the knight pushed past her and then opened up the curtain, and it was odd because he didn't really find much. I mean, the thing that he did find, actually, was a perfect replica of the princess's room. But the odd thing is that there just was simply no princess. Was not there. But he did notice that there was one thing different, however, which was almost unsettling of sorts, where the princess would be when she was asleep. All that was left was a weird little box with some strange symbols on it. So he decided to walk up to it, and he opened it up, and the little person inside of it started to spin while the tune had played. Yet again, now it was a somber tune, but the odd thing about the figure inside of the box is that it was that of the princess. Now, he was taken aback by it, because it was realistic. Almost too realistic. Frighteningly realistic. And then all he could feel was a sharp pain in his back. The knight had fallen.
Give us some money!
He had completed his goal. But he'll never live to tell the tale. I hope that you guys enjoyed the little spooky stories. I think that the box is a cool concept. Also, I'm going to be having a charity subathon on the 21st. So make sure that you guys are there for that, because that'll also be very, very cool.